Hey everybody, this is the Sliders Review, and I'm here today to talk to you about Legend of the Seeker Season 1, Episode 1, Prophecy. So, I'm a huge fan of Legend of the Seeker. I love it more than Lord of the Rings. I love it more than Game of Thrones. Even though I like Britannia, I like it more than Britannia. It was a really good series that only lasted, sadly, for 2 seasons. And so, it's a series, well, it was based off a series of novels written by Terry Goodkind. And so, he wrote over, 20-something books. The first season's based off the first book. The second season's based off the second book. And so I will get more into that when I do the rundown review. There's a few more episodes I want to cover before I get to the rundown review. Mainly because there were some episodes in season 2 I want to talk about. But if I talk about season 2 and haven't really went into season 1, then that's going to be a huge spoiler, you know what I'm saying? And I want to get you caught up first before we go into season 2 because there are more characters and more stuff and and that kind of stuff. And since it is a TV adaptation, it does differ from that of the book, but it still stays relative the same. It just didn't have the budget of a huge show like Game of Thrones. If it did, then it would have had dragons because there's supposed to be a dragon in this. But hey, they did what they could in syndication, produced by ABC Studios. Sadly, this is no longer on Hulu. I believe it's on the ABC app. I'm not sure, but there are a couple of episodes on YouTube. And so, this first episode, let's get into it. The person who directed this first episode, the first episode is actually 2 combined into 1, so it was about 80-something minutes. And my God, I love the cinematography in this. The opening is so gorgeous. It's exquisite. It's New Zealand. And you see the snowy mountains. And my God, I've never seen this view before of New Zealand. And I've seen plenty of American shows filmed over there. Like Hercules, Xena, Power Rangers, Ash vs. Evil Dead, High Tide. I've watched a few New Zealand Kiwi shows, and I've never seen anything like this. It's just gorgeous. And then you see this other scenery because there are 2 women riding on horseback, and they're riding for their lives. But I just love these angles and these views, the way that they dim the lighting when it's dark. Tell you the truth, only in the pilot episode do you see scenery like this. Other times you get kind of cool shots, but not really. So like I said in this one review I did that had to do with the Confessors, we see 2 women on horseback, and it's Kaylin and Nell, and it is Deneen and Nell. They're both sisters, and they're both confessors, and they are literally riding for their lives because they're being pursued by the Daharan guards. The Daharans want them badly. See, confessors are magically inclined. They have the ability to see if somebody's telling the truth, and they have the ability to confess somebody. What that is, when they touch your neck, they look deep into your eyes, and then their eyes turn foggy, kind of black, and so do yours, and you do whatever they want. And you're also their love slave and everything. And so they have something that the Daharans wrong. And so they're just riding for their lives until one Daharan shoots the knee in the back. They ride for as long as they could until she goes tumbling down the sandy cliff. Of course, as she's going tumbling down, that arrow's in her back, so it's getting pushed in more. Now, remember what I said a long time ago. Even though I am reviewing this, and I am reviewing as events are happening in this episode specifically, that don't always mean something won't happen in further episodes. Because if you saw the other episode I reviewed, then you know that it seems that Deneen had died, but she did not. How she survived, Lord if I know. And so her and Kaylin talk a little bit more, talking about, we have to make it to the boundary and everything. She's like, no, go without me. So Kaylin takes the night wisp and she runs on foot, being pursued. She cannot see the boundary because it's invisible until you run smack dab mill into it. And so then it illuminates in this green, glowing, beautiful light. It's a force field. It's a boundary that separates the land. See, in this world, there are 3 lands. That at least that we know of, that all they keep mentioning. I don't know if there's any more part of the earth, but so far the earth is divided into 3 sectors. The Midlands is the Midlands, the Westlands, and Dahar. Now I'm not quite sure what they are. They're probably somewhere between the Midlands and the Westlands, and so it separates those two, the West and like the Mid. And so like chances are Dahar was probably called like the Eastlands, but the evil bad dude changed it and stuff. So anyway. So there's some guards after her, and she's basically telling you better get the blank back and everything. And so they're worried because they think she's a witch because she put her hand up. But they know she's a confessor, but they're probably not quite sure what she can do with her powers just yet. And they should, because everybody should know what a confessor is in that part of the land because there's magic in that land. But us viewers, we don't know. So she takes the nice wisp and somehow it has the magical ability to make like a tunnel in the boundary, and she runs through it. And the guards, they run after her. It cuts from that and we meet a guy named, before I get into that, the confessors, they wear these beautiful long gown dresses. And the thing about Kaylin, she wears 2. She wears white. Normally a confessor wears white, but if they're in hiding like the need, they wear black and other clothes, but mostly black. And so Kaylin wears a long, beautiful dress, and underneath it is a black dress. I guess if she needs to change to hide and everything. But we never really seen her in her black dress ever. Because in the rest of the series, she wears like different colored clothes, mostly green and brown. And then when she's wearing her green and browns, she's wearing long black pants and long boots for some bizarre reason. Maybe it's winter time over there. She's freezing her butt off, so that's probably why. Because the actress has amazing legs. Like, oh my God, dude. And stuff. I remember when she was on Jimmy Kimmel, he brought that up. So anyway, it cuts from that to Richard Cypher, and he's building something. We don't know quite what yet, but this dude is lean and muscular, ripped. Like he has no body fat. And so we see what he's building, a bridge all by his lonesome. Now that's determination right there. And he meets a little boy, and the boy, you see this little fuzzy thing? That is a cow. I have never seen a cow with fuzzy hair. So I looked it up. They call a Highland cow. Boy, I guess there's a little bit of everything. What was that cow banging? That had that much shaggy hair. So the little boy is too scared to go over the bridge. And so Richard proves to him that, he can do it. After that, Richard's eating the apple and he sees Kaylin running in the woods. And he sees a bunch of men. The men corner Kaylin on a cliff. And she's about to go over. And so she's literally just like scared, but she's ready to fight. And so Richard comes in and he's all like, what are you doing to this woman? They all like, get away, boy. She's dangerous. And he's all like, she's one girl, like, that's about to fight 3 dudes. So y'all seem like the dangerous one. So he knocks Richard out. And then we see something interesting happen. See, I forgot to mention something. When Kaylin was on the other side of the boundary in the Midlands, a vine bit her dress. This vine is known as a snake vine, and it put like a little seed on her. Now, by this time, the seed has jumped off her when she's on the cliff and ran inside like the ground. It grows like super fast. Now, in the Westlands, there is no magic of any kind. Now, the Westland people, they know of the people from Dahar. The boundary's been up for like at least 100 years, or at least 1,000. So they've heard tales of people over there with magic and stuff. So next thing you know, Kaylin, like one of the guards, goes near her and she confesses him. And when she confesses him, he starts to fight the other guards. Richard doesn't know what the world's going on. But then the guards kill the confessed man. And so after that, Richard fights like the main general dude. His name is Fane. He's from the books. Pretty much every major character you'll see in this is from the book, so I like how they kept that intact. However, they changed certain people's appearances, and they changed people's like motivations and stuff in the show. Cause you gotta remember, this is made by Robert Tappert and Sam Raimi, who did Hercules and Xena and Ash vs. Evil Dead. So Richard pushes that dude over a cliff. Well, actually, he falls over the cliff as they're struggling. And the dude like literally goes over. And so Richard's shocked. He's trying to talk to Kaylin. He's asking her a million questions. She doesn't want to answer. He makes the mistake of grabbing her arm. And she takes out her knife and puts it through her throat. And she's all like, look, I'm on a mission. And if you want to see what I did to that man, like confessing him, then, you know, keep pissing me off. And then she just like takes off. Now, by this time, the snake vine has grown into like a full plant and wraps itself like around his ankle and stuff. And so when he's trying to get off, he puts his hand down there and it bites him. And it's a nasty snake like wound and everything. And it's just so clever of like, you know, the creator, like, you know, the person of the book to make a snake vine. Like, who's ever heard of that, you know? So by this time, Fane has somehow survived falling off the cliff. How the world if I know? And he meets Jace. Jace is from the books too. And so Jace works for like the council. And the head of the council is Richard's brother, Michael. And so he takes him there. And basically Fane lies and all like this evil woman who's a witch. And she has like put a spell under your brother and all this other stuff. And I have to find him. So they head, of course, to Richard's dad's house. So he heads back to his dad's place, and his dad is played by the dude who played Jason, older Jason, in the Hercules show. And so like he tells him, you know, he met this weird lady, she did something weird to him and all this other stuff, and he was these weird guards. His dad is worried. His dad knows exactly what's going on, but he doesn't want to say. He tells him go to this man's house named Zed. And Richard doesn't want to go there. He's all like the crazy man who talks to chickens and stuff. But he's all like, look, he will explain everything. But you need to get far away from here. Richard dad's playing dumb, like he doesn't know anything. And so then, you know, they go and search for him. But they leave guards there to wait and see if Richard's going to come back. So then, you know, it's funny because like when Mike was talking to Fane, he didn't believe that he's from the other side of the boundary and everything. So see, they know what magic and stuff is. They just haven't seen it in over 100 years and stuff. So at night, and the night sky is beautiful. It looks like it's CGI or something. A lot of times the night sky here looks like CGI. And we see an old long-haired man, and he's talking to that of a chicken. He's butt naked and stuff. And so like the dude who plays him, Bob Hoskins, I think his name is, he's a great actor. He really makes, when you watch this show, he makes you believe he is a wizard and everything. He's been in so many shows, so many movies. Sadly, when he's in an American movie, he always has a short role. He was in the third Matrix movie. He was the old tall man who was running from Morpheus in the beginning and stuff. And he had a small role in the Peter Pan movie and in the third Chronicles of Narnia movie. And so like Kaylin talks to him and she calls him like a wizard and everything. He's pretending like he don't know what she's talking about, but she shows him the Night Wisp, and the Night Wisp was able to like find him because he's magical and stuff. And so she wants to know where the Seeker is and everything. Well, in comes Richard, and he looks half past dead like a zombie. His hand is swollen from the snake vine bite, and he is dying. And so Zed is going to use his magic. That's one thing I love about this show, the use of CGI and magic. It is amazing. So he's doing his spell. He's sucking up all the evil venom from, like, Richard's hand, and he heals him. So Kaylin is all like, all right, now that this distraction is over, where's that seeker at? Like, show me where he's at and everything. She's very rude in the first episode because she's very determined. Her sister has literally died trying to find a seeker. There's an evil man who's literally wanting to destroy the entire world and everything, and she is desperately looking for, like, the seeker, right? And Zed lets her know, hey, look, man, he's right here. Now, by this time, Fane, he has left, what's his name? Jace. Because when he was talking to Jace, he's kind of like, that's a unique weapon you have. And so he's all like, yeah, I got it from, like, a trader and everything. A person who, like, trades goods and stuff like that. And so Fane heads back to Richard's dad's house. The guards leave, and then he tells his dad, you're going to tell me exactly where you sent your son. So Kaylin is not too happy. She is pissed because she couldn't believe this scrawny little dude who came and fight some guards is the seeker. And so Richard's all like, what's a seeker? Then she gets even more pissed because she's all like, he doesn't even know what he is. And Zed's like, nope, because I never told him. And she's all like, why not? And he's all like, well, you've been teaching him for 23 years. And so he's all like teaching him, like, how to get his nails dirty in the sand, what makes his heart beat, what makes trees grow, stuff like that. And she's just fierce. She's all like, you wasted, like, so much time when you should have been training him. The world is literally suffering and everything. And he's all like, that boy shouldn't have to go through all this and everything. He never asked for this and all kind of other crap. So Richard's just kind of like, what the world are y'all talking about? So she makes Zed tell the story of the prophecy. The creator, who is known, it was basically just like God. The keeper is like the devil, the creator is the God, and the pillars of creation. He wrote a prophecy. Or she wrote a prophecy, I should say, because the creator is a woman. So she wrote a prophecy, but they've never seen her. But anyway, she wrote a prophecy saying that, great evil will come to the world, which is the family of Ra. They're just all evil, every member of that family. And they will try to take over the world. And then there will be a boy born in the town of Brenton, of a firstborn and everything. And so when Darken Raw, who is the main baddie in this, heard about this, he sent his entire army to slaughter every single firstborn son in Brenton. All but one survived, and Zed took that baby, headed to the boundary, and then he entered it. And that's where he's been this entire time for 23 years. And so, like, she tells him that there is a great evil and he must defeat and kill this person. And he's all like, what? I'm not killing nobody. And so he thinks they're crazy. So she gives him the Counted Book of Shadows. And she tells him this book was written back in a time when nobody remembers, over like 1,000 years. So it's from an ancient language that nobody can speak no more. However, only the seeker can read from this book. Only a seeker somehow can magically read this special language. Now, Darken Raw, if he gets his hands on it, he can use magic to, like, decipher it and stuff. So he reads the book, and at first he can't read it. But then he tries again, and then he's able to read it. She's happy and smiling, and Zed's just kind of like, crap. And we don't know exactly why at this point in time, why Zed does not want him to be a seeker, and why he takes such great responsibility for him. But I'll explain that in the rundown review. So, then he gives him the sword of truth, and he makes it come out of nowhere. Now, the Sword of Truth differs from that of the book in terms of coloring. The hilt is supposed to be gold, but in the show, the whole thing's silver. And the Sword of Truth is only a sword that the Seeker can wield. If it's in the hands of anybody else, it's just a regular sword. But in the hands of a Seeker, you can fight with the strength of 20 men. And not only that, but it feeds off your anger and emotion. So when you get angry, it glows and everything. There's more about the sword and the anger thing in season 2. That's why I'm trying to hurry up with season 1. So, like I said before, he doesn't want to kill nobody. He doesn't want to like be a superhero type person. He thinks they're crazy and he just like bolts on out of there. But then as he's leaving, he's heading back home and he sees fire at his house. So as he's trying to race and get there, something happens. Him and his horse are attacked by a bunch of giant flies. These things are known as blood flies. And as they're swarming around him, Kaylin takes him and knocks him to the ground and makes him be quiet. And she tells him the blood flies are like, you know, they attract something much bigger. Next thing you know, we see a giant like demon monster with wings, and it attacks Richard's horse and it eats it. And Richard's just like terrified out his mind as Kaylin's trying to like calm him down and everything. And so like she tells him that's a gar, and it comes from like where she's from. It must have came through the boundary when it was open and stuff. It stayed open for like a good while as she like, you know, ran through with the guards and stuff. And so like it uses blood flies to like hunt down its prey. And basically it sniffs out anybody who's warm-blooded with blood in them and stuff. Or even cold-blooded. As long as you got blood in your body, it sniffs you down. And so like then Zed uses his wizard's fire and he blasts the monster and everything. After seeing all this, Richard is still like, y'all stay away from me and everything. And so he takes Zed's horse. And Zed's horse has not only the sword of truth, but the book of counted shadows. So Kaylin's all like pissed, like crap, he took our stuff and everything. And Zed's all like, well, isn't that what you wanted him to do? Like take it and everything. And so he heads to his dad's house. When Richard gets there, his dad is dying. His blood wounds are too severe. And he's just like distraught. He is beside himself. And he asks him, you know, is it true? Are you really my father or not? And he tells him, yeah, you are my son, but not really. And everything Zed said was like true and everything. Because they adopted him and stuff. Well, next thing you know, Michael comes back with some guards, and Michael's all like, Richard, what did you do? And everything. You killed our father. Or better, you killed my father. And Richard's like, you knew the whole time, and why didn't you say anything, you know? And he's like, he couldn't, because the dad made him keep that secret. Now, one thing I forgot to mention, Michael, he is played by the dude who played the Purple Wolf Ranger in Power Rangers Jungle Fury. So next thing you know, they're trying to arrest Richard. He grabs the sword and it glows. Why? Because he's angry right now. He wants Fane real bad. And though he like heads on out of there. He finds like Zed and Kaylin, and when he does, he's still angry and the sword is just a glowing. He's all like, when I find Fane, I'm gonna like kill him and everything. So he heads back to Zed's place. And Fane is there. Next thing you know, they like fight it out with their swords. But Richard has not been named Seeker yet. So the sword doesn't work for him just yet. And so he's not fighting with the strength of like 20 men. And so he gets his butt hit. But then Fane can see on Richard's horse that he has the book. And so he takes it and flees. When Zed and Kaylin show up, he tells them, you know, how he screwed up. They told him not to rush in, but he did it anyway. He's very impulsive and everything, because he's only 23 years old. So after all this that's happened, he is now ready to accept his destiny. It's sad that like a death normally triggers people to become like superheroes and stuff. So Kaylin gives him the sword. Zed says his magical like enchantment thing, and then he names him Seeker. There's like flames going all around Richard in a circle. He raises his sword high in the air. We have somewhat of like a He-Man kind of moment. Lightning just starts striking the sword, infusing him with the power of like 20 men to fight and everything. It's a nice moment. I like it. It's subtle, it's nice, not too much CGI, some nice flames and everything. So by this time, Fane, he is headed towards the boundary, but it's going to take like at least a full day or two to get there. Now, when Richard was named Seeker, Darken Raw could sense it in his dream and see it in the vision. So he wakes up and he is terrified. He brings in one of his generals and he tells the general, you know, like, you've worked for me for so many years and you've been so loyal and everything. I gave you one task and one task only. For 23 years, I have slept in peace, knowing that the Seeker is dead. But now, all of a sudden, he has just been named and I have seen him in my visions. And he's all like, well, I killed every firstborn child in Brenton. But he's all like, oh, but you let one slip by. So he tells them and everything in a very calm way, it is time for you to retire and everything. And so he thanks him for his service and shakes his hand, but with a dagger in one hand, he slices his wrist. He falls to the ground, dying. But then something unique happens. As the blood is dripping from his wrist, Darken Raw has a cup and he's soaking up all the blood, letting it drip in the cup. And I'm just like, what is he doing? Is he gonna drink it? So then he tells somebody to fetch his journey book. I was like, what the world is that? So we see him write in it, but we see him dab the quill in the blood as he's writing with the pen. I'm all like, dude, couldn't you just use ink? Like, how evil are you? But there's a reason for that. Journey books only work with blood. See, there's two books that connect to each other. When you write in one, it shows up in the other book and it's smeared in blood. That's very unique, I gotta say, man. And so, like, he's ordering his guards to head to the boundary, use whatever magic they can, and use magical catapults to try to bring the thing down. So they're there at night and they've been doing that all night, all day, and into the next night. So as Richard and the others are like walking, they find Jace. Now Jace played Draco in the pilot episode of Xena. And he was the one who was in love with Xena, tried to fight her. Then in that Cupid episode, he fell in love with Gabrielle. And there was a musical episode and stuff. So I remember him. So he's friends with Richard and been friends with him for a long time. And so he doesn't believe what Fane has said. So he tells Richard, you know, I'll go with you to like the boundary and stuff like that. But first they have to, like, you know, eat and sleep it off. So he takes them back to his home and stuff. And that's when Kaylin gets a new dress so she can like sneak around town without being detected. The next morning, travesty has hit. See, everybody's cattle has been slaughtered and eaten. See, a gore has slipped through like the boundary when it was open again. And so all the townspeople are like really upset because they have no idea what the world has gone on, because they haven't saw like a monster magical thing in many years and stuff. So as Fane is with the townspeople and everything, you know, he tells like, no, wait, Fane's not there, but it's Richard's brother Michael. And, you know, he figures he has to do something with Richard and like Kaylin and stuff like that. So he goes looking for them. Well, as they're traveling there to get on the bridge that Richard made and everything, in comes Michael and some townspeople ready to dish out some punishment and arrest them. Michael doesn't want to believe anything Richard has to say. He thinks he killed his father because he's listening to everything Fane said. Fane's all like, oh, he killed your dad and blah, 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 blah. And the witch has like bewitched him and everything. He's literally taking the word of a stranger and everything. So they like lasso Kaylin. They're getting ready to drag her, and then Zed uses his wizard's fire to like free her. Then somebody shoots an arrow at Richard, and he's about to get hit. And all of a sudden, the Night Wisp flies from the bottle, and it absorbs and get hit by the arrow, and it dies and everything. See, Night Wisps are kind of like teeny, teeny, tiny balls of light, kind of like teeny, tiny little pixie looking type things. And so Kaylin is upset, and Richard's even more upset. He's like, everybody's dying just to protect him. That is like Dark and Raw will literally kill the entire world just to like, you know, kill the Seeker and stuff and get his hand on the book. So he tells Jace that, you know, if Fang can turn his own brother, he's gonna turn the townspeople. He needs to get back home to his family, and he'll handle this by himself and everything. So when Jace goes back home, there's Fang, because Fang knows Jace knows something, and so he holds his family hostage, and especially his daughter, and he wants to know where he got that weapon. See, the weapon Jace has is a standard issue Daharn weapon from last year. And so he's all like, there's no way that thing came from like 100 years ago. And he wants to know who he bought it from. And Jace tells him he bought it from the Bone Lady, 80. So he said he'll take him to there, but Fang don't trust him, so he takes his daughter hostage. After they leave, Jace heads back to where Richard and them's at, and he tells them what's going on. But there's a problem. See, Richard and them was traveling, and they're by the boundary now. They're waiting for Fang to come. And all of a sudden, Richard can start hearing voices. Zed tells him, block those voices out your head. What it is shadow people. See, the dead are able to travel from the underworld to the boundary because it's kind of like a veil, and they're able to talk to people, and they try to sucker people in so they can bring them into like the shadow world, into the underworld, and kill them. And they even use voices of like people's loved ones. So Richard thinks he hears his dad. He puts his hand through, and Zed saves him. But then Zed gets pulled in, and he's getting absorbed by like the poison of like the shadow people. So he's out like in a coma. So they need to find a healer. And so like Kaylin's kind of like, look, we ain't got time for this. We need to find Fang, where he's at. And maybe we should just like let Zed die and everything. And Richard's like, we can't let him die. And she's all like, well, he said he'll give his life for you and everything. Like, she does not care. She just wants the mission to be completed and stuff. And that's when they find Jason. He tells them where Fang is at. So now they're heading to the Bone Lady house. Reason why she's called the Bone Lady, because inside her house is full of bones. Like, it's still like the walls of bone, the ceiling's bones, like everything. But the outside's like a regular house. And so she's playing dumb. She's like, I don't know how you get through like the boundary and everything. And so the man, she's blind as well. So the man's all like, why don't you touch the girl's face? And you see, I ain't playing with you. He's all like, this girl is warm. If you don't tell me how you pass the boundary, she's about to be cold and dead. So she gives him the rock, a magical rock that she uses to pass through the boundary. So he doesn't leave the girl with her. He takes her with him. As he's leaving, he can hear horses. You know what that man did? He looks up and he can hear a gar. So he takes his dagger and he slices that girl's shoulder, and it's bleeding. And then he sends her to run and everything. The gar is about to kill her. Richard, he's just riding on his horse as fast as he can. He whips his sword out and he chops that thing's head off and everything. And so he tells Jace, get his daughter, get the safety. He's finna, he left Zed with the Bone Lady and stuff. Now here's the problem. The Bone Lady and Zed, in the books, they know each other. They know each other very intimately and everything. But in the show, they act like they don't know each other. So this is when it changes from the show. See, one thing people had problems with the show, it didn't always stick to the books. So they got furious and stuff. So they didn't want to watch. And when they didn't want to watch, it got canceled. So Kaylin and Richard, they head to the boundary and everything after Fane. As he's about to pass, well, actually, he is passing through, but he has to stop because Richard is not about to let that dude pass. He wants blood. He whips out his sword. Kaylin whips out her daggers, and it is on. It is a epic fight and everything. It's only 2 against 3, and so Kaylin kills the 2 soldier dudes who are like from that area of town, and then Richard is just fighting the crap out of Fane, and then he finally just runs him through with his sword, and as he's running him through, the sword is glowing because he is furious and everything, and it's feeding off his anger. Well, there's a problem. The Daharan guards saw where Fane tried to enter, so they start bombarding it with catapult and stuff like that, the giant like boulders with magic onto it. It busts through. Over 20 guards come through. Boy, it was on. There are flames everywhere from the explosion. So they want the book. And Richard knows that, you know, if Darken Raw gets his hands on this book, then the world as they know it is over. You know what that fool did? He burnt the book. Kaylin is furious because the book has secrets in there that can help him defeat Darken Raw and any other like evil person. So the fight happens. Like I said, there's flames everywhere. It's CGI flames. It's not that impressive, but it does look good. So she's taken on like 5 guards and she kills them. And then she confesses a man. And then when you confess somebody, you get weak and you pass out. So the confessed soldier, he's fighting the rest of the soldiers until the other soldiers gang up on him. When Richard sees she's on the ground and finna get hurt, boy, he used the sword and he fought like 20 men. He took out every single last soldier by himself with that sword. He literally took on 20 men and killed every single last one of them. Now he doesn't have a problem with killing. As long as that's in like the heat of the battle and everything. And so Zed at some point wakes up and he heads there and he saw that the fight's like over with, right? There's a huge problem now. There's a huge gap hole in the boundary. And it can't be repaired. So people are gonna be able to pass in and out. So he convinces, like he asks like Richard which way you want to go. And Richard said, you know, you taught me you can only go forward in life, not backwards, because they're always giving him advice. So he heads through like the Midlands and he's gonna take care of Darken Raw. Darken Raw, one of the guards came to him and said one of the wizards, kind of like sorcerers, survived and told him everything that happened and that the seeker is now in the Midlands. So Darken Raw puts a bounty on his head. Now, it's about to end and we see like the trio and they're talking. And they talk about how it's not going to be easy and this and that. Now, Caitlin says something that doesn't never happens in the series. She said Darken Raw has magic. He does not. She said that he has tons of sorcerers. Now he does. She also said that it's going to be impossible to find him because he goes from temple to temple, castle to castle to sleep. He does not. He stays in one place throughout the entire series. And something else. Oh, he has magic that can disguise his appearance. He never does that. I think what it is, they were trying to set him up as being like a uber bad guy, but they just realized it would be too much of a hassle and too much money to do that, so they didn't do that. So I always thought that was kind of weird because that they always get that line in the pilot. I'm like, that never happens in the series. Now we do find something interesting out about him in season 2, but I ain't got there yet. So yeah, this is a really good series. If you can find it like anywhere, I suggest you do. It's on DVD. There are 22 episodes per season. And you know, it's very adventurous. Lots of great magic. lots of like action and stuff, and it's just a really good show. It's Hercules and Xena, but more mature without the campiness and all the flips and stuff and martial arts. It's just regular sword fighting and stuff. Alrighty, well, I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.